Welcome back, everybody. Dan here, and as you can see on screen, this is way out of left field from what we normally do here. This is a sim racing channel, but it's a simulation-based channel, and this is a simulation, so it's not as far out of left field as it could be. But anyways, there is a reason I have X-Plane 11 in front of you on screen, guys. We are, in fact, in a flight simulator. We are flying in a Cirrus Vision airplane, and we are flying somewhere out in the middle of Alaska, and there is a reason for all that. So basically, I'll give you a brief description of why I'm doing this, and then we'll get into the video itself. So the brief description is, it's not a secret that I've done flight sims for a long time. I am not a professional pilot by any means. I'm very, very far away from that. I actually have much more knowledge about sim racing and simulation racing titles than I do about flight simulators. But I have been using flight simulators for probably 4 or 5 years, and doing research and messing around, I've learned enough for personally, in my opinion, I have enough information to have fun with a simulator at a gaming, like at a consumer gaming level, your typical gamer, right? So what I'm saying is, in no way am I saying I'm doing all this stuff properly or correctly. I'm probably doing it very wrong, but I have got myself to a point where I know enough and can give enough information where a very beginner who has never used a flight sim before can have some fun with it. Now, that being said, I've had a few people in Discords and things like that asking me if I could give some very beginner tips. And so I said, sure, I can do that. I can add that to the channel. But I just want to give a disclaimer that this is aimed at somebody who is just about to download a flight sim and get in a plane for the first time. And so if you are a professional pilot, or if you've been using flight sims for a long time, this is not for you. I'm probably going to give some information that you may or may not agree with, and that is fine. You're probably doing it more correctly for me. But I'm aiming at helping someone who has never used a flight sim, get them to the point where they can have some fun with it. Because we all know, anybody who's messed with flight sims, they can be quite overwhelming. And you know, to get started, it can be really overwhelming. So I just want to get some basic tips, tricks, and tutorials out there to help the very beginner, someone who has never used a flight sim before. And so I just wanted to put that disclaimer that I'm not a professional pilot, probably doing a lot of this stuff wrong. So the idea behind these videos, this is going to be a series of videos, each one touching on a very specific, very basic thing. And I want to also emphasize that all of these videos are going to be made with X-Plane 11 in specific. Now, that being said, some of these items will cross over to other flight simulators, I'm sure. But again, this is going to be specific to X-Plane 11 because that is my flight sim of choice. And that is what this video is going to be about. Basically, I'm going to be telling you today why X-Plane is the flight sim that, if you've never used one before, I think that this is probably the flight sim that you'll want to start out with, and that's what I'm going to give you some information of why I think that is the case. Now, I have used pretty much all of the flight sims available on the market. I've used Aerofly, I've used Flight Sim World, Microsoft Flight Simulator, all the previous X-Planes, and many, many more. There are a lot of very good flight simulators available on the market, and most of them are on Steam. And I have most of them downloaded and have access to them, but that being said, I only ever play X-Plane 11 now, and I'm going to give you the reasons why. So the first thing I want to talk about is the base visuals. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to go to the view here, and I'm going to put us to an external view, maybe like a chase camera here, just so you can see a little more of the visuals, and I'm going to back us out. So like I said here, guys, we are flying about 9,000 feet above sea level, I believe is what I have us locked to. And we are somewhere out in the middle of the mountains in Alaska. And I want to talk about the visuals here because one of the biggest complaints I see, and one of the biggest complaints that I always had when I first started, is you see all these videos on YouTube of flight simulators, and then you download the sim and you get in the sim and you fly somewhere amazing, and it doesn't look anything like what it looked like on YouTube. Now, I am specifically flying in this area of the world. If you can see, there's a lake over there. See that lake? Just a little add in there. But I specifically chose this part of the world because this is a part of the world that I have not touched any of the visuals. This plane is a plane that comes out of the box in X-Plane. These ground textures are out of the box ground textures in X-Plane, and they look pretty damn good, I must say. All of the mesh, the mountain textures, the details, the polygons down there, meaning how many triangular little pieces they use, is all base scenery. If you download X-Plane and get an X-Plane, this is what you're going to see in this part of the world. Also, if you fly out of another part of the world, you know, you're going to have variations of these textures based on information that X-Plane has used for different part of the world. So if you're flying in Italy or Saudi Arabia or wherever you may fly, the visuals are going to look like that part of the world in specific. And so that is really, really cool. I like that out of the box, X-Plane, in my opinion, looks better than any of the other flight sims. Now, that being said, guys, I typically don't fly with the base visuals, but I wanted to show you the base visuals so you know that that very first flight, before you get into detailed changing scenery, changing meshes, using ortho photos and things like that, which you probably will eventually get into, and I'll make some videos about, the game is going to look good. This is one of the main reasons why I say go with X-Plane 11, because right out of the gate, the game looks good. You can see that here. This is beautiful surroundings. All these mountains look great. So that's a huge, huge, huge feature there, because you really don't even have to change the visuals at all if you don't want to, which is very cool because they look great. There's not a lot of buildings and stuff out here in this area because we're out in the middle of Alaska. But that being said, X-Plane does use an auto-gen feature where if you're flying, say, over a city you recognize or something like that, it will auto-gen and create buildings and houses and various things that it thinks belong in that specific area. That being said, it is not photorealistic. So you're not going to, if you fly over your house per se, you're not going to see your house in that base area, but you might see a city that looks similar to the city that you live in. You know what I mean? So it's going to be, you know, they just don't have the development time to make the entire world look exactly like it actually does, because this is a 1-to-1 scale with the world. If it would take you 2 hours to fly in the real world, it would take you 2 hours to fly in game, and nobody has that kind of time or resources. But so that's why I just wanted to show you. That's why we're flying here. I may have flown here in the past, but I don't fly here enough to have changed those visuals out. So what you're seeing here in this image is the base visuals. X-Plane 11 has absolutely beautiful visuals and really good water, and that's one of the main reasons I think you should just start out with X-Plane. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this real quick here, guys, and I'm going to move on to the next reason that I think X-Plane is a really good option. I'm bringing us into the main menu here. The main menu here is really simple to use. It's very, 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 very easy to use, and anybody could figure it out. Inside this menu here, I want to show you a couple key features. All of the planes you see here, I've removed, just for this tutorial here, guys, I've removed any planes that I had that I used as an add-in, because I want this menu to look just like the base menu. So there is not a ton of airplanes, but there are airplanes available in pretty much any category you would want to fly. You have anywhere from airliners here, the 737, 747, MD-82. Those are the really big planes that you may want to fly. This is general aviation is what I typically fly. We're in this plane here, the Cirrus Vision. I like that plane. But you have the Cessnas and things like that, the Beechcraft Baron. These are very basic planes. These are the planes you're going to learn to fly on because they're easier to use the controls and stuff like that. So what I'm saying here is the menu is very easy. You just click the plane you want to use, basically. You can go in and customize various things about it. You're not going to do any of this more than likely when you first start out, I would say. So basically, you're just going to click the plane that you want to use. And as you can see here, there is a glider, there's military planes, seaplanes, ultralights. They've got a lot of variety of planes that you can use, which is great. And these are right out of the box. A lot of simulators don't have a lot of planes to choose from, and you're kind of forced, if you want to fly a particular kind of plane, to go find an add-on before you ever get started in the game. So X-Plane is really cool here because it has a lot of valuable and cool planes to fly of any shape and size right out of the gate. Changing the weather is super easy. It's just a simple slider here, right? So that's pretty easy. You can go in and you can customize that as well and change all these various things. I highly doubt you're going to do that to start off with. Change the time of day. Very, very easy, very cool. And then I'm going to go in here. We're not going to change the location here because it takes a long time to load up, but I want to show you how the location works. So like I said, we are flying over Alaska somewhere, but say you wanted to fly closer to home. So I live very close to Raleigh. Pilots use airplane codes or IDs, right? You see these four, sometimes they're 3 letters, sometimes they're 4 letters. These are airplane codes that pilots use to punch into their GPS and their navigation systems to get them from point A to point B. The problem is, as a casual gamer, I don't want to remember any of these at all. I don't have the time. I don't want to remember them. I don't play enough. I just want to jump in and figure that out. Many flight simulators, you have to know these codes. So what you have to do is you have to hop on Google, you have to find the airport that you want to fly from, and you have to search for the code and type in the code. You don't have to do that here. You can search by city or state or whatever you want to do, and most of the time it'll get you pretty close, if not find you the exact right place. So for example, if I wanted to fly out of my local airport, which I know is KRDU, but let's say I didn't know that. I know it's in Raleigh. Right? So you start typing in Raleigh, NC, and it'll start populating the things only in that area. And so we've got North Raleigh. There's an airport in North Raleigh, Raleigh Memorial. There's a bunch of them here, but we're looking for Raleigh-Durham International. Because it's local to me, I know that's the airport I'm looking for. So you can just type in locally something close to that airport, and it should find and populate the airport you're looking for. And then what you can go is you can go in and customize that. And it's got an image of the airport. I know that this is RDU because it's local to me. And these little dots here are places that you can actually have your plane start out. You know, if you want to start out by a gate, this is gate A6, A4, yada, yada, yada. The other side, this is the new terminal here, C12. Or if you want to start right in front of a runway, hold short of runway 23L, 23R, you know, so it's very customizable. These are all features that X-Plane has that most flight sims do not have, at least the last time I used them. Some things may have changed, but like I said, I've been using X-Plane for a long time. So basically, you would just hit confirm. We're not going to do that. I'm going to continue the flight we're on. But you can see it's so easy to get started, and that's one of the main things that I really like about X-Plane. So while I'm in this menu, no, I'll go back out. We'll go back out to our flight here, guys, just so you have the visuals to look at. But the next thing I want to talk about is eventually at some point when you're using a flight sim, you're going to want to add new visuals. You're going to want to add new airplanes, and you're going to want to add all this stuff to make it look even prettier, plugins, various things like that. X-Plane is so easy to do that. You know, there is so many add-ons. There's a website, which I'm not going to go into in this video, but I will make a video about it later on in the series. Xplane.org. It's free to just log into that, and there are hundreds and hundreds and probably thousands of airports that are photorealistic, cities that are photorealistic, and you can easily download them and add them to the game. And the simplicity of doing that in X-Plane is like no other sim out there. It's so easy. So if you get to the point where you decide you want to add scenery or change the way this looks or something like that, it's super, super easy, as well as adding in plugins to add various maps. And I'll do other videos later on in this series on specific plugins that I think you should use to make X-Plane even better. But just the physical ease of adding things into the game is awesome. Next thing I'm going to talk about, I want to emphasize again, I am not a professional pilot, nor have I ever flown a plane in real life, and I've only ever been on a plane a few times in my life. Most of the time when I go somewhere, I take a car. But here's the thing. The research that I have done and listening to other pilots that are online, what they say is the flight model in X-Plane is the most realistic. So while I am trying to have fun and I am trying to just have a good time and use this as a way to get away from the fast-paced sim racings, I do still want it to be realistic. After all, it is a flight sim. And what I have researched and what I have heard from actual pilots, just not in person, but online, I want to emphasize that, is that the flight model is the most correct. So, and that's been years of me doing research. So I also heard that about X-Plane 10, and this is just a continuation of X-Plane 10. So I am pretty happy with the flight model. Whether or not it's exactly the same as in real life, I have no idea, honestly. But from what I've read, it does. So I wanted to mention that supposedly X-Plane has the best flight model. And then, so I touched on how easy it is to pick a location and get going and stuff like that. And then the last thing I want to talk about, we're going to hop into the plane here, guys. And if you want, I'll just take a look around the plane. Again, this is the Cirrus that we're flying. They are all modeled very, very well. I do run in triple monitors, but I am running in a single monitor for now, just so that I am looking exactly at what you guys are looking at. What I'm going to do, let me not make you dizzy. I'm going to pick up the seat a little bit so you can kind of see what the scenery looks like from inside the plane. Very cool. It actually looks like there may be some little town or something right over there. And you can definitely see some of that auto-gen scenery popping up. Also, that is a shadow from the clouds somewhere up there. So that's pretty cool. So anyways, what I want to show you, let's get back in the base here. I want to show you the GPS system. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about. It is extremely difficult to fly a plane if you have not been trained to fly a plane. That being said, I am familiar with Garmin GPS systems because I've been using them and other GPS systems in my car for 10 years now, or whatever it is. So the cool thing about X-Plane is in the majority of their planes, they have some kind of Garmin system built into the plane, which makes it a lot more familiar to a general gamer than, say, if you hopped into another sim that had, some other kind of flight systems or just a bunch of gauges and stuff like that, which you really should learn how to use those gauges. But the Garmin systems in these planes do make it a lot easier because they're just generally more familiar. And also, one thing I like about this is this is the general, or this is the default view, and you can't see down at the bottom. But if you click on the screen, it pops it out, which is really cool. So this is the same thing in the dashboard down there, but now it's big and you can see all the buttons. And this one device here, in this particular plane, it's the X-Plane 11 Garmin 1000. This one device controls everything. Your autopilot system, your flight plan. Later on, I'll show you how to do a flight plan if that's something you guys are interested in. You know what I mean? Everything you could possibly do is right here in this one piece of equipment. Right, and I know right now, if you've never used a flight sim before, this probably looks complicated, but let me tell you, this is the least complicated out of all of the systems in the flight sims, right? Right now, I'm not even flying the plane while I'm talking to you guys. It is on autopilot. It has been on autopilot. I've told the plane to hold an altitude of 9,000 feet. That's what it's doing. It's doing that all on its own. And basically, I just pointed the plane in the direction I wanted to go, and it's been flying straight as an arrow ever since I started talking to you guys. So that's really cool. Having these more familiar GPS Garmin-specific units just makes it easier to get through the menus and stuff like that. The maps look familiar. And then this is basically the exact same thing over here, except for it's just going to give you an overall of where you are. And then this stuff here is the gauges, the pertinent gauges you need to be watching: oil pressures, oil temperatures, differential pressure. Actually, let me take that back. As a casual sim or a casual gamer, a lot of this stuff you don't even need to worry about, because chances are you're going to start the aircraft with it running. You're going to get in the sim with the aircraft running, and all you have to do is release the brake, give it some throttle, make your way down the runway, and take off. So most of this stuff, as a beginner, the people that I'm talking to, you probably won't even need to use this stuff. You know what I mean? But it is cool to know it's there. But anyways, the whole point of this here was just to show you that you could pop out this GPS system, and that the GPS system is going to have all your pertinent information, and the GPS and the autopilot built right into it, which makes it, at least in my opinion, significantly easier to get started and get flying. So that's really all I wanted to say there, guys. But yeah, so this long video is basically just to tell you about the series that I'm going to be having. This video was long. Most of or actually all of the rest of the videos that will come after this are going to be much, much shorter than this, because it's not going to be the introduction. It's going to be one specific little thing about X-Plane 11 that will make your flying experience better, that will make the visuals better, and these, again, are going to be very, very basic tips and tutorials and tricks aimed at the very, very beginner that has no experience with a flight sim, that just wants to get up in the air, fly, look at the scenery, have some fun, and land the plane. They're not interested in having the correct nav1 number set or radio set, or asking for permission to leave a runway. These are not aimed at anybody like that. These are 100% aimed at someone, a casual gamer that just wants to get up, fly a plane, look at some stuff, and then land a plane. That's what these will be aimed at. So yeah, so that's going to be it, guys. We've gone, Jesus, over 20 minutes now, so I apologize for that. But again, sim racing videos are still coming like normal, probably one a week of those. And maybe what I'll do is, or sim racing or my review videos is what I mean, guys. But I'm going to add in these, so maybe these might be a second video a week, or I don't know, I may make all of these and release them at one time, because there's some very specific people who have asked for these. So I don't know if I want to make these people wait a long time for these videos, you know what I mean? So I may just make them, and as I make them, just release them, which means there may actually end up being more videos of flight sim stuff coming out than racing sim stuff, but that's just temporary until I get all these videos out, and then you guys may never see another flight sim video again unless that's something you want to see. So yeah, so that's going to kind of end this one. Hopefully I've touched on it, but basically this video was me saying that these tutorials are going to be specific to X-Plane 11, and me telling you why I think you should use X-Plane 11 as your first sim, because it's great out of the box where many sims are not. So that's going to be it, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments below. If there is something specific that you want to know how to do, let me know in the comments. And if it is something that I know how to do and I can confidently relay that information to you, then I will certainly add that to the list of items of things that I want to show you how to do. I already have quite a lengthy list of things that I think will be very helpful for you that I'm going to start working on today. So yeah, so that's going to be it, guys. X-Plane 11 is the flight sim I think you should start out with. A lot of fun, and I hope that you guys will enjoy these tutorials that I have coming on very, very basic stuff to get the most out of flight sims from a casual gamer. So thanks so much for joining in with me, guys. I'm going to end this one here, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next one. See you later.